There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube showing how to model a cell phone, and particularly a lot of them are for the iPhone. All right, this image here is just a quick thing that I did. This is not, really an iPhone. It's a cell phone. It's similar to an iPhone, and it's not done, but and it's not a good render or lighting or anything. I just wanted to show how I would model this, and it's not very difficult. But the point that I want to make, though, in this video is that I'm using a combination of subdivision surfaces, in particular for the sides, and just an ngon on the surface, so that I can do booleans nicely. And in particular, I know it won't look good if I zoom in on this, but where I've got the holes here, all right, it's very difficult to do that many holes, I find, in subdivision surfaces. All right, so I'm going to show you how I would just use my combination technique, and this is for making a simple cell phone for relative beginners like myself. All right, so here I am in Blender. I am in top ortho view, and the way you get there is press 7 on your number pad. So if I was somewhere else like that, okay, hit 7, and make sure that you hit 5 on your keypad as well to go from perspective to orthographic view. You're looking sort of straight down. You'll note that my screencast keys are on so you can see the keys that I'm hitting, but I'm going to be explaining this, all right, because I am not Blender Guru or CG Geek. I'm just me, Zerobio, doing sort of a beginner's thing, for guys like me. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch this actually already to cycles render right up here. You can choose the renderer that you want to use. I want to use cycles so that I can come over here under the camera and choose GPU compute. All right, and that's set up in your preferences if you have certain video cards, NVIDIA or whatever, and I just find it'll speed things up, especially for rendering. But this is really a modeling video. All right, and again, I'm not trying to brag about how I know how to make a cell phone. I'm just I want to show what I would do in case you're sort of beginning and you're having trouble with punching holes in sub-D things, and that. So I'll show you what I tend to do. Okay, so I want to put a plane down in here. I'm going to start with the plane. There's different ways of doing this, but I'm going to do it starting with a plane. And in order to get that plane, instead of going create plane, which you could do, I'm just going to go Shift A, that's the hotkey for adding a mesh. Okay, and in this case I do want to add a mesh and I want to add a plane. Okay, so there it is. I'm just going to use my mouse wheel to scroll in and out. I want this a bit bigger in the Y, so it looks more like a rectangle than a square. So I'm going to scale it in the Y. To scale it or make it larger or smaller, you hit the S key, and then I want it only in the Y direction, that green line. So I'm going to hit Y, so S and Y, and now I'm going to pull my mouse. I'm not pressing any buttons, I'm just pulling. And if I hold Control, it'll snap to these grid increments, and I'm going to do it to there. All right, so it's just a flat plane, and there it is. Now, one thing I think we will do is get rid of this grid. So I'm going to hit N in the side panel, and let's come over here under Display and click off the grid floor, and then hit N to close that Properties panel or side panel. So back to top view 7. Now I've changed the size of this, right? It started as a square plane, it's now a rectangle, and the operations that I want to do on this thing will work better if I sort of reinitialize it. So what I do is I come down to Object. I've got my object selected. Object, Apply, Scale. Or I can go Control A to bring up that same menu and just choose Scale. Now you don't see anything happening here, but if I now go into edit mode and do what I'm about to do, which is bevel the edges, it will work better because I reinitialized it. Every time I change the scale, the size, or the rotation, I will tend to do that. So I'm going to go into edit mode, either down here, clicking edit mode, or going Control Tab. No, that wasn't it, was it? Let's get out of there. Yeah, just Tab. I can choose edit mode. If I've got this little menu thing here, which I think I probably had to set up as an add-on in my user preferences, but I don't know, and I know that this is an old version of Blender. There's probably newer ways of doing this, so at any rate I'm going to choose edit mode. Now right now you can see this blue box around the edge selection mode. I can click on this for vertex and you can see the yellow dots here. All right, or I can go back to edge, or I can even do face. And that looks similar because it's a plane. You don't see any difference between face and edge. I really want to be in vertex selection mode. If I deselect with A, I can also go, what I'm thinking about these things there, I tend to forget. Control tab brings up the same thing as you would do down here. Control tab, and I can go to vertex or whatever. Anyways, I want to select all these vertices. Okay, I'm just holding down shift and clicking them all. And I'm going to bevel these. Now, normally you would go Control B and you'd pull your mouse back. But if I try that, it doesn't work on this plane here. All right, so I'm not going to do that. I'm instead going to go Control Shift B. Okay, see it down here? Control Shift B. As soon as I do that, you can see that the corners start getting chopped off, which is what I want. So drag your mouse to a certain region that you like, maybe 2 grid units in, and then roll the mouse wheel. 1, 2, 3, and as I do that, it adds more vertices. I'm going to do it maybe 5 times, whatever. Click to accept. All right, so I've rounded the corners. Let's go back into object mode. I did that using my tab button, but you could do it down here. Go from edit to object mode. All right, so now I can see that I've rounded it off nicely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece as the front panel of my phone. All right, right down here, this front panel. And I'm going to leave that as an ngon, which I know is evil, but I'm going to do it because it works. But I'm going to create the sides as well, and I'm going to put a subdivision surface on that. All right, so here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to go Control Tab and switch to edge, or I could have done that right down here. I was in vertex and go to edge mode, and I'm going to Shift Alt and click that edge. Now that's going to make this polygon here blue as well, but I've really selected the edge. All right, and now I am going to copy that edge or duplicate it. So I'm going to go Shift D, enter. Now there is a copy, and I want to move that copy away, all right, and make it its own object. So I'm just going to Control Z. It's sitting right on top of each other. So I'm going to hit P, and that's going to allow me to separate the copied or the duplicated plane edge from the other object. So I'm going to go Control P and just press enter on selection. I don't want it by material or by loose ends, whatever, loose parts. I want it there. Now I'm going to come back into object mode. I actually have 2 objects here. I'm going to move this one out. This is the duplicated one. All right, so I'll just select that on the bottom, or deselect everything, select this, and I'm going to move this down a bit. Okay, now it'll get a little confusing to see them, so maybe I will go ahead and add a matte cap and some shadows. So hit N to open up the side panel here, and come to shading, matte cap, ambient occlusion, and choose your favorite shader. All right, maybe I'll start with this one. No, I'll go with this one, which I typically do. Okay, and to close that. All right, so I've got that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to bring that up a bit. I am going to go into edit mode, select those edges again, and I'm going to extrude this down, E to extrude, and I'm going to pull it down. Now when I pull in one direction, I may get some discoloration as opposed to pulling it in the other direction. All right, so whatever direction I pull it in, I am always, I think almost always, going to deselect by hitting A, reselect everything by hitting A, and recalculate the normals so that they're all facing outwards and all my polys look correct. Now I can do this by going Mesh, Normals, Recalculate Outside, or just going Control N. Watch the color here. Control N. See the way it changed? Well, if I deselect and look at it now, it all looks normal. You know, if you know what normal looks like, it looks fine. Okay, so that's what I wanted here. Now I'm actually going to select this face, and I'm going to delete this face. So I'm going to hit X, faces. I really don't need that. I didn't need any of this stuff on it right now. Okay, this is the part that I want, and I'm going to add a subdivision surface to that in a moment. All right. What I think I'll also do though is let's bring it back up so it's right about here. And let's go into edit mode, and we are in edit mode and edge selection. This, and let's Shift Alt and click on that edge. Okay, so I've got this thing positioned. Let's look on an end. Yeah, I can't really see it very well, but I've got it a little bit higher than this area here. All right, what I want to do is I'm going to extrude it in a little bit and then down. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to go into top view so I can see this, and I'm going to focus on the corner up here. I'm going to scale this in the X. You can see my little axes down here. Red is X. I'm going to scale it in on the X and on the Y. So I'm going to go S, X. I'm going to hold down the Shift button so that I pull it in slowly. Just like that. Let's say that much. And then I'm going to scale it down a relatively equal amount. Now you can use numbers if you want. I'm not doing that. Scale in the S and then Y. Scale in the Y. Hold Shift. Pull towards the middle. And just try to get a relatively equal amount like that. Okay. Now before I lose that selection, doesn't matter if I click away. I can get it again. In edge selection, just click on it. Shift Alt, click on it. I'm now going to go E to extrude and pull down in the Z direction a little bit, just like that, and then come back into object mode. So far so good. All right, doesn't look like a cell phone yet, but we've got the border separate and that front face. Let's go back into the side, select it, and go into edit mode, and let's take this edge and let's go E, scale it in the X, pull it in, doesn't really matter how much, scale it in the Y and pull it in. I can do it equal if I want to, just like that, and then hit F to make a face. Alright, so we've closed up the bottom. I can adjust how thick I want that as well if I don't think that phone is going to be thick enough. But now it is faceted here, doesn't look very good yet, but let's go ahead and add a subdivision surface on this now. Come over to the wrench, to the modifier stack, hit add modifier, subdivision surface, and I'm going to click on this button for my view and bring it up to 3, and also 3 for the render. Deselect and have a look at that. Okay, so what have I got going on here? Okay, let me hide that for a second. All right, I just hit H to hide. Let me Alt H and bring it back. When you do a subdivision surface, it shrinks things, that creates a lot of polygons, and it shrinks it down a little bit. So my front panel here is sticking out a little bit at the side. That's fine because we're going to scale this now. I want to bring it in a little bit. So let's have a close look at this and hit S, scale it in the X, hold Shift, pull it in. I'm on the wrong, I've got the wrong thing selected. The panel, scale it in the X, hold Shift, just until it disappears. Just like that. Okay, and let's check out the top area too. All right, I'm going to scale it in the Y a little bit till it just disappears. Scale it in the Y, hold Shift, underneath, go. Not too much because I don't want it to show up there. There we go. Let's deselect. That's fine. Okay, now I can add smoothing as well. I can hit S for smooth, and we get a nice, body and front face to work. Let's go ahead and save this as cell phone video. All right, nothing earth-shattering going on, and it took us a while to even do that, but we're making some progress. Okay, now here's where the ngon works. I'm just going to make sure that looks fine. Okay, so top view. We're going to do sort of an iPhone thing. Okay, we need a rounded rectangle up near the side, near the top, in that camera there. All right, I'm not going to do this to exact specifications. We're just going to do it. All right, now the 3D cursor is right down here in the middle. That means whenever I bring in a new object, it's going to go right there, and that's fine. I'm going to bring in another plane, so I'm going to go Shift A, plane, and there it is. All right, let's grab the green arrow, the Y arrow, and bring it up that way. Let's scale it in the Y a bit, or quite a bit actually. Let's scale it in the X. We'll scale it in the Y a little bit more. And it is centered, and we're going to put it right about there. All right, so we're going to make a rounded rectangle. I'm going to hit the period key with that selected. That's going to zoom right in and adjust my rotation as well, so I can rotate around that easily. All right, I'm going to just bring it up so I can see it. So that's what I'm going to use to make my speaker, and I'll put a little camera beside it. Okay, but I want this to have rounded edges, and I'm going to use this to push into this face right here. So let's make sure we're zoomed in. Let's build this up, give it some thickness so we can use this to carve into the bottom piece. Edit mode, it's already selected, heat extrude, pull it down. Now notice the dark brown here and the light brown there versus if I pull it up and deselect, they're all light brown. Okay, so it's just that I pulled in the wrong direction to give some thickness. If that's the case, this poly is facing the wrong way, and maybe the other one too. So let's check. Hit A to select the whole thing. Watch the color. Control N. It was hard to tell if that. I think that one changed as well. Now they're all facing out. But anyways, the reason I did that was so that we can use this and perform a Boolean operation. But I want this to be a rounded rectangle, not square like that. And there's different ways of making these as well. I could have done it with a circle, but I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to go back into object mode. Because I've made a change to this in its scale, I'm going to go Object, Apply, Scale. Okay, or I could have gone Control A and chose Scale. Geez. Back into edit mode, and we'll choose edge select, choose this one, and I'm just going shift and clicking on these things like in Windows. All right, we're going to bevel this. Now because I've got the edge and it's got some thickness, I can just go Control B instead of Control Shift B. Control B, pull back on my mouse till I like the cut and roll my mouse wheel up. Now I don't have to go crazy with segments, so just something like that gives me the roundness that I need. Come back to the top, you see it's a rounded rectangle like that. That's good enough. I'm going to take this and I'm going to push it into the surface a little ways, like that, something like that. You can repeat this if you want. Now this is where the ngon, and this is called an ngon because I mean, it's got a whole bunch of points, not four, it's not a polygon. So this is where it works relatively well. I'm going to select the face that I want to use, which is this top panel here. I'm going to come over to the modifier stack, choose Boolean, and choose difference. Now I want to now select my rounded rectangle to cut into this face. So the object, use the eyedropper, is that. You'll often see a little white line around here, which means it's done its job. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to select my rectangle, and before I delete it, I'm just going to hit H to hide it and see it's cut nicely into there. I don't have any other major problems yet, so I can go Alt H to bring that back, select it, and delete it. Now the problem is, because I don't have subdivision surface on this, this is a very sharp cut. So what I want to try to do is to bevel this. So make sure I'm on the top surface, go into edit mode, and now I'm going to go in edge selection, and I'm going to click that edge, but I'm really going to hit Shift and Alt and try to get more of the edge. Now when there are these other edge loops or edges, it tends to break it, so I'm going to have to Shift Alt and click a few times. I've now selected the entire outer edge, but I also want the inner edge, and I just Shift, I'll do it again, Shift Alt and click there, Shift Alt and click there, and if you happen to get one of these edges selected, just deselect it. So I've got that selected, and I'm going to go on the inside, Shift Alt and click that, and I get the whole thing in one. I'm going to bevel this if I can, and let's hope. Control B, pull back gently, roll my mouse wheel up twice, deselect and come out and look. All right, so I've created that hole. It's It's not perfectly smoothed yet. So let's try to smooth that a bit. Let's, on this top face, let's add smoothing. And as soon as I do that, I get a little bit of discoloration here. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go in to this. And I want to smooth all of these if I can. So I'm going to select this bottom poly, and then I'm going to expand my selection outwards to include more and more parts up to the surface. And I'm going to try to smooth all of this. I'll show you what I mean. I've selected that bottom piece. I'm going to go Control plus. You see the way more is added to my selection? Control plus, more is added, Control plus. Oh, if that's too much, Control minus, and I take it away. Control plus, Control plus, Control plus, Control plus, Control plus, all the way to the top. I think I'll try it to the top anyhow. And I'm going to come over here to shading and UVs, and under faces I'm going to go smooth. And I saw a small color change. I'm going to hit A to deselect and come out. And it smoothed that, but it hasn't touched the surface to give me those weird shading errors. So that looks fine to me. Now, I'm going to go back in edit mode, and I'm going to select this face because I need to put the speaker little holes in that. And again, this is why I'm doing it this way. I could have made that rectangle, as you'll see soon, in a subdivision surface like I will in the side. I could have done that, although it wouldn't have been quite as nice, I don't think. But to put a multitude, an array of holes, I just don't know how to do that yet. Or maybe it's going to take far too long, because I'm going to show you how I'm going to make a hole later, and you're going to see I'm going to have to make a circle, and I'm going to have to merge points and everything, and I have to do that multiple times. No way. So the reason I'm selecting this face is I'm going to bring a cylinder in here to punch a hole in this, and I want it to come right in the middle so that I can adjust its position after that. So I've selected this polygon, and I'm going to go Shift S, which brings up this menu, and I want to bring the 3D cursor to what is selected. So watch this, okay? Watch this area right there. I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to selected. And you can see there, I've got my, I thought I could zoom in on it, my 3D cursor, the yellow and red circle right there. Now, I can go back out of edit mode, and it stays there. And that's what I want. Shift A, bring in a cylinder. I'm just going to leave it as 32 sides and leave everything the same. Scale it down and zoom in with the period key, and notice it's right in the middle. Scale this again to get the size of holes I might want. Bring it up, not that, escape. Bring this up and maybe make it a bit longer. I'm going to be using this to punch a hole. I don't need them too deep though. 7 to go into top view. Now that's right in the middle. I'm going to move this using those arrows to about here. And I want a bunch of holes that go across here and then here and here. So I'm going to use the array modifier. Add modifier array in the X direction. So this is the X direction here. See X, Y, Z, X. So right here, right now the units are 1. I'm going to click this little arrow, and I'm going to move it until I like the distance between them. And then I'm going to change the count. I have 2 so far, 3, 4, 5. Keep going until I get near the end, hoping I don't have too many, something like that. And I could set up another array to make them go in the Y direction. And that's what I'll do. This one goes in the X. I'll go add array. That's going to put it down below here. But this has still got the same value. It's got 1 in the X direction. I want this to be, well, I don't know, not in the X direction. I want it in the Y direction. Let's try 1.2 for the moment. Okay, so they're going in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to change this and put a minus sign in front of it. Minus 1.2, and I want it more than that. So I want it maybe about that. And I'll have 3 rows, and then I'll pull this up, and that'll adjust all of them. And yeah, that's going to be my circles. That's going to be just great. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and hit apply to all those arrays, and it's done. Okay, this whole thing will move as 1 unit. Before I do this, I want to make sure my normals didn't get flipped at all. So sometimes you have to do that as we, I don't know, join things or apply modifiers, or I don't know, the polys might get flipped. So I'm going to go into this as an object. This is all one object, right? I can move it all together. I'm going to hit tab and go into edit mode, or I'll do it down here, whatever, doesn't matter. Not that. Edit mode. And it's all selected. I can all deselect, hit A, Control N. It can't hurt to do that, all right? So they were all right, but that's fine. I could go Control A, scale, because I changed the scale of this as well. All right, so those are pushed into the surface, and if you want to see how much, you could hit Z and go into wireframe, and you could possibly tell how far they are in. It's pretty bizarre looking there, so we weren't going to bother with that right now. Okay, here's what we do. We're going to do a Boolean. Okay, make sure you save before that. Select the face. All right, and it's maybe hard for you to tell if it's selected or not. Say add modifier Boolean. Make it a difference. And now we're going to select our cylinders. The object we want to cut with is the cylinders. Now, I don't know if you saw that color change. There's a little white line, and there is some weird discoloration here. We're going to have some issues. All right, anyways, let's hit apply. It's performed the Boolean, select the cylinders, and I'm just going to delete them because I know it's worked. You can see the holes in there. Now, that's the shading issues because I've got smoothness on there. If I take that off, that improves that. And what I want to do though, and I might adjust that later, is I want to actually bevel these holes because they're very, very sharp. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to go back into edit mode. And I've got this. This is how it's cut them. In edge selection, I am going to try selecting the outer ring of one of these. I think I can do it this way, and I'm going to try select similar. Geez, I don't remember which one. That worked. All right, just try different combinations. I got all of them selected by going select similar face angles. Otherwise, I would be going like this on all of these, trying to select, and maybe the bottom ones and getting the wrong one. So I just got select similar face angles, and it selected the top edge and the bottom edge, which is what I wanted. Now we're going to hope that I can bevel this. All right, I'm just moving it around. All right, I'm going to go Control B and pull my mouse back away from the center. I don't want a small lip, like maybe that much. I'm going to roll my mouse up. I'm actually going to go 2. I'm not worried about polys right now. And I'm going to deselect and come out and have a look at that. See the way it's catching some light? I've now beveled that and got a bunch of holes in there. Now, geez, let me select my object and go into edit mode. Let me see if I can smooth this area. That. If I go Control Plus, I'm going to see, I don't want to get this surface. I'm going to try smoothing just there. See if that took at all. Okay. How about that? That doesn't look all that much like the iPhone speaker, but I got those holes in there. All right, let's do another one. All right, I'm going to make a hole here for sort of like a camera. I think I'll just make a hole just to show you. Shift A, add a cylinder. It's going to come right in there. Scale it down. Pull it over in the X direction. Period key to zoom in, and then just manipulate a bit. All right, I'm going to push down like that. Okay, I want to make it bigger. I can scale it. I want to make it that big. I want to do a Boolean. Select my face. Boolean, difference, object is the cylinder, apply, hide, and it's cut through, beautifully cut through. But I want to bevel this if I can. I'm always selecting the wrong surface. Now, this may be tricky to bevel. edge select mode. I'm selecting the whole edge. Got it pretty good. And I'll do the inside edge as well. Control B, pull back a little bit. Add a few segments. Add a few segments and then deselect. Now, it's a bit faceted. It's not a big problem. Let's see if we can smooth that a bit. Select my surface, go in. I'm going to grab this bottom face and I'm going to expand my selection outwards till I'm almost at the surface. Plus, 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 plus. If I go one more and I get the surface, go back by one. Under shading UVs, faces smooth. No fuss and no muss. Does that make sense? Now, if I want to put something in there, like some kind of camera or something, I'll go in, select this face, and use it to build the camera separately though. So let's Shift D to duplicate that face. Let's make a new object out of that face so we can extrude it and do some stuff with it. So let's go P to separate it from the current object. Go back into object mode, and what I mean is if I select this, my 3D transform tool, okay, that thing is way over here, but it's associated with this. If I go set origin to geometry, it sets the origin here right to this new piece. If I do this, or I don't know, choose something else, or if I put that, wow, my 3D cursor, I don't need that, send that back to the center, whatever. Let's choose that. Let's bring it up. There, see, I haven't lost the internal face, I just made a copy of it. All right. Scale this a tiny bit so it looks like it sort of fits in the hole. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Let's go into edit mode. Select that face by hitting A. Let's extrude it. E to extrude. Pull it up a little bit. It's got smoothing on it, so it might look a little bit weird. Let's inset this. Let's make it go in a bit or scale it in. Let's hit I to inset. Pull it in like that. E to extrude. We'll bring it down a little bit. And we'll hit I to extrude again. Come in. And E to extrude, and we'll pull it up a little bit. Let's just do like that. Deselect, and let's push it back down in. It looks like I made it too small. So let's hit S to scale it. So it looks like it's supposed to fit in that hole. And there's some funny stuff going on here, but that could get cleared up if I bevel it. All right, I do like the smoothing. So let's just go. Let's go into edge selection, and let's click on or shift click on all the sharp edges. That one and that one. And that one. Those are the sharp edges that are visible. All right. I'm going to go Control B and watch the shading as I do this. Pull it. It changes the shading a little bit, especially when I start adding segments too. I don't need too many, just 2. Do that. Let's say that might have been 3. That sometimes changes things. Well, I may want to have a subdivision surface on this anyhow, so I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm going to come over here and go subdivision surface of 2. And smoothing, and then I'll change the scale a little bit. Go S to change the scale, and we'll look at that. And maybe I will bring it up like that. Let's see what that looks like. That looks still pretty nice, eh? Fine. I'm going to apply this, and I'm going to join this to the face. Save. So everything's joined together. Now I don't think that's really what the camera looks like, but this is my cell phone. All right, so let's move along here. We need to put like the home button down here. Let's do it a little quicker because we're doing the same kind of technique. I'm going to bring in a cylinder a little bit bigger than this one, but I'm going to bring it in right here. Okay, that's where my 3D cursor is, but it's right in the middle, so that's fine. So I'm going to go Shift A. I'm bringing a cylinder, scale it down. We'll do a nice big button because this is not an iPhone. This is just a cell phone. All right. And just to exaggerate what it looks like. Push it down a little bit. We won't make it that big. All right. All right. Push that down a little bit. All right. We're going to do a Boolean again. Just easy stuff. Select the face. Boolean difference eyedropper on this. Apply. Oh, it's taking some time because of all those holes in there. I can hide that, but hide that. There. Done. Okay, it's done the cut, but we need to bevel this. I'm on the wrong layer. edge, Shift Alt and click that edge. I'm going to do the inner one as well. Control B, pull back, give it a few segments. This is a big button, so I'm going to do a bit more. Have a look at it. How's it look? Not bad. It's not smoothed yet. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could take this face and you could scale it in. Although I've put beveled the bottom there. If I expand that and scale it, I can pull. No, that's not enough, is it? Here, let's zoom in. There's one more. Scale it like that. If that's more the effect you wanted to go like that, we can smooth this in a bit. Yeah, okay. We'll have to do that. But let's bring back that cylinder. Alt H. Let's scale it a little bit. Let's use this to build the button. So let's go Scale Z, shorten it. All right. So let's say we want to scale Z like that. Let's put a subdivision surface on this. Now watch what happens if I do that. Just subdivision surface. Okay, it gets all weird, especially when I go 3. It gets all weird like that. We just need some proximity loops or edge loops in here. So I'm going to go into edit mode and I'm going to go Control R and I'm going to click and drag up. Okay, this is just something that you need to practice doing. I'm not explaining how to do it very well. That surface, let's try selecting that edge, hitting E to extrude, scale 0, except Alt M, merge the center. Let's see if that helped it at all. Okay, smoothed it out a bit. I don't care about the bottom. I'm just going to stick that in there, and I think we do need to scale it. Maybe it didn't clear up that too well. Yeah, maybe that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Yeah. Let's try just adding a face. No, let's not. Or did I already add this? Add a face. Let's delete that face and let's grab that edge. Need extrude, scale it in a bit, and then we'll go extrude. Let's try merge in the center. Looks fine. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Let's hide this button for a moment and see if we can smooth this a little bit. I'll do it by grabbing that bottom face, expanding my selection by Control plus, right up to the surface, up, back one. Okay, if I'm on the wrong tab, I can go shading UVs, smooth the faces. All right, relatively smooth anyhow, and Alt H to bring that back. And very quickly, we have a nice home button. Let's see if it's brought back. Yeah, it brought back that cylinder. Let's delete that. Okay, so that's what I would want to do for the front face. I could do a screen, but let's move over to the side now. Okay, so what is that? 1, 3. What side is that? Okay, Control 3 is the other side. Now that's pretty narrow in here, but Control 3. Let's go in to edit mode. I haven't applied the subdivision surface, and I can turn it off. I'll turn it on. I want to make a rectangular, somewhat rectangular button, and there's a couple of holes and stuff, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to add in some edge loops in order to cut away at this thing. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go Control R, and that puts in that pink line, and I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel up 1 and accept. I can now move this. I'm going to move it up to about there. And I can scale in the Y, and that's going to pull these lines in together. I'm going to move it again. And I want my button to be in that area. Okay, the rectangular, my switch, okay, for my, silent or vibrate. If I deselect and I go Shift Alt and click, I can select this edge, and I can still move it if I want it bigger. Okay, So let's say I like that position. If I go into face select mode, I'm not just going to select this face and start working at it. I need some more support on the sides. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put some more edge loops in this way. So I'm going to hold my mouse over here. I'm going to go Control R and I get one line. I want two. Click to select. And then I want to scale them in the Z direction. I want to separate them. So I'm going to go Scale Z and I'm going to pull my mouse away. And that moves them up or down. Not too far, but close to the edge. But don't interrupt this roundness here. Don't bring it right to there. Just about to there. Back into face select mode. Now I've got this face. So before it spanned this whole side pretty much. Now it's just isolated to this area. Now to create the rectangle that's I'm going to push it into the body. I want some more edges. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit I to inset and pull this in. Okay, now there's a little rectangle. I could use this, but I want even more support. So I'm going to scale this in the Y and in the Z just a little bit, like this. I'm going to inset one more time and pull it in. I'm going to scale this in the Z maybe a bit. And I'm going to use this, and I have all these loops around. It's a lot of maybe extra geometry, but I find it helps. I mean, I could just extrude this in. Let's try that. E to extrude. Pull that in, and then you go, whoa, I thought that was a square, but it looks round. Well, that's because there's subdivision surface on here. All right, let's deselect there. And let's add an edge loop to make this flatter. Now, it's a little hard to see, so you can always turn off subdivision surfaces. And then you go, oh, there's my edge, because what I want to do is I want to go Control R, get that edge loop there, and push it towards the back. Now, maybe not all the way. And another one, and pull it towards the front, maybe not all the way, deselect. Now I can turn that back on, and I've sort of sharpened up the edges there, but it's still a circle. So what I'm going to do here, and by the way, come out of object mode and just look and see whether or not you've done any damage to the side. It's looking good so far. Just go back in. And I'm just going to try to put an edge loop in here. I guess I'm going to have to do it there. And I'm going to pull it down to that side, not all the way. I'll put another one here, and I'll go to the other side. And it will become sort of a rounded rectangle. You may not even want them that far. Okay, back there. Let's try that. Is it pinching? I'm going to pull them back a little bit. Shift Alt and click. Pull it back roughly an equal amount. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, from there, it's a little bit long actually, but that's going to be just fine, I think. Well, I could try to. Might be a little bit tough. Shift Alt and click on everything. So I'm not going to leave it that. I'm going to leave it there, and I think I'll select this face. Shift S cursor to select it. Put my 3D cursor there, and I'm going to bring in a cube and scale it down. Scale it in Z. And in the X. Yeah, it is rather long, but scale it in the Y. And I've done a lot of scaling, so I'm going to go Control A, scale. And I think my polys may have flipped. I'm going to select it all, go Control N. Maybe they didn't. And I think I'm just going to bevel this. I'll just go add modifier bevel. I'll put 2 segments and I'll lower the width so it starts to look just like that. I can put smoothing on this as well. And maybe we'll scale it in the X a little bit. Just pushing in here. Alright, it's just a little switch of sorts. Scale it in the Y a bit more. Okay, again, it's not exactly an iPhone. It's a bit long, but All right, I just wanted to show you how you could cut in that way and get a relative sort of rounded rectangle, which I like more than a square. But let's do a circle, all right, for some kind of button, and we'll leave it at that. So I am going to add an edge loop, and it throws it in way down there. I'm just going to move it down here, close by, and another one. Did I get it? No. Control R. There it is. Okay. Okay. So I'm just creating a space. Like select that, like that. All right. Now I'm going to hit W to subdivide once, and that'll give me that four. I've got 4 polys there. Okay. What I'm going to do is go to vertex select mode and select that vertex, and I'm going to want to bring my next object in at that spot. So I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to selected. So I've got my 3D cursor right there, but I'm going to select that vertex and I'm going to hit X, delete vertices. Now, this is the technique for punching a hole in one of the techniques in a sub-D thing. I am going to bring in a circle at that spot. Shift A, choose a circle, and choose 8 vertices, like that. Now the circle is laying down this way, so I'm going to rotate Y 90, so it's in the proper orientation, and scale, S to scale. Scale it way down, and then while selected, hit the period key to zoom in. I'm going to scale it up, and the idea here is that I want to have the same number of points on my surface here as I do in my circle. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points on my surface and 8 points in the circle. And I'm scaling it so that they are relatively close and aligned. I'm going to deselect and I'm going to hide my 3D manipulator. I am then going to come up and grab this point, shift select that point, Alt M, merge at last, and that'll pull this point down to the circle. I'll do another one. This point and then this one, Alt M, merge at last, and I'm going to go around the circle selecting that point and then that one, this one and then this one, and Alt M, merge at last, these two, this one, that one, and that one. Alright, let's deselect and let's go out and have a look at that. Let's see if we've deformed our mesh. That was rather a big circle. We may have a little bit of deformation there. We'll see. I'm going to be extruding this. So let's go back in. Let's in edge select mode. Let's Shift Alt and click all these parts. You got to do Shift Alt. Well, I mean, I could have probably done that and Shift. I could have done that. That's fine. I didn't have to be Shift Alt. Fine, I got it all. Now, I've got that edge. I'm going to extrude this in. I'm going to go E to extrude. I'll bring back the 3D manipulator. Pull it in this way. And then I'm going to hit, it's still selected, E to extrude, scale or S0, except Alt M, merge at center. Let's come on and just have a look at that. Oh, I selected everything. Let's come on and have a look at that. We got some issues there, but hang on. We got some stretching there. We are going to do a little bit more work. Let's see if I can come in here and put an edge loop in here and pull it up. That's corrected some of it. Let's also see if I can put in an edge loop here. I can't. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the knife tool, I think. I'm just going to cut from here, C, down to there. Let's see if that's relieved some of the stress. Looks like it has. It doesn't look too bad. Okay. Let's make a button for this. Let's go back in face select modes. No, not face select mode. In edge select mode, let's select all of this outer edge, either with Shift Alt or just Shift. Let's duplicate it, Shift D, and then P to make it a new object. I'll go back into object mode and select it. So that there's the panel and there's that. Let's set the origin to geometry and move it out. Just having a look at this here. All right, good enough. Edit mode, select it, E to extrude, and pull it out. Select it all, Control N to flip the polys, and then grab that front edge. E to extrude, scale 0, accept, Alt M, merge and center. And we'll add an edge loop and pull it up. Deselect, come back, and we can smooth shade it, push it in to wherever you want it, however deep you want that. All right, and that's basically how I would go about making those holes. Let me just double check that smoothing is on here. Yeah, it is on. You know, so hopefully that it looks okay. If you wanted to render this, I mean, you could set, I don't know if I want to set it up that quickly. Let's see, how's the time? Almost an hour. This is all we got, guys, but it would probably look better if we did that. So let's just quickly scale, I don't know, 50. Today we'll bring in the camera. Alright, let's lock camera to view. Where is that? Oh, jeez, I'm having trouble. There it is. I'm going to hit the home button to go full screen. So we'd have that. I got a camera. Let's do material. Let's do the face. Just really quickly. New. I'll use nodes, but I may not use the node editor. I want a mix shader with diffuse sort of black and I don't know, 0.1 and glossy, close to black too, and 0.02. Let's try that. I'll call this black. I might just do it all black for the moment. I don't know. I'll put to the body in that black as well, just to get things set up. And let's come out of the camera view. Choose emission. Let's just go for 10 for the moment. Let's see if I see what the deal is here. Okay, we'll need more lights, but just wanted to have a look at that. We could pop a screen on there too. Okay. All right. Let's just copy this. Let's rotate. Wait, what am I doing? Rotate Y 180. Oh, that wasn't right. That doesn't matter though. And we'll just not really doing this right, but it doesn't matter. Let's just have a look at this. We'll get more light. All right, I mean, just so you can see stuff, okay? Come on. Sorry, guys. I just wanted you to see the holes in the camera. That, you know, it meshes relatively well, you know, with the sub-D body. right? And these buttons here, you know, they work okay as well. You know, with just without, you know, doing good materials and other design elements. Here, let's go ahead and try to put the screen on. Okay, let's put the camera and these lights down there. Okay, in fact, let's put that down there too. Get everything out of the way. All right. I think the way I would want to do this is not a great thing. I just want to show you with the screen on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an area for the screen, and this is just going to be real quick. I'm just going to use the knife tool. I'll come across, hold C to constrain it, and I'm going to make a cut there, and I'm just going to do it down here. C to constrain, cut there. Okay. Now in face select mode, I can select this and this, and I'm going to duplicate it. Shift D, P to make it its own selection. So I've got it here. I can move it up, and I'm going to scale this in the X a little bit. So that's like this. All right. I'm also going to go into it, and I'm just going to dissolve faces, put them together as one face. So there it is. I'm going to give this a new material. All right, whatever. And this is going to be a screen. So for now, I'll do that. And I'm going to choose emission. I'm just going to leave it like that. Save everything, and let's go into top view, select it, and go U, project from view. Let's split this screen, T to close that side, and switch this to UV image editor. Probably should have gotten rid of those vertices, but let's open up an image, this iPhone image, and let's just scale my image, or my UV. What happened there? Okay. This isn't going to be exact. I'm just doing this quick, so I'll scale this in the Y. Just to see what it would look like. Scaling the Y. Scaling the Y a little bit more. All right, let's say that was good enough. That's good. That's done. So now, what am I doing? Let's bring this out again. Let's go to the node editor, and on the screen we got a mission. Let's close the side. Shift A, add in a image texture, join the color up, choose that iPhone image, save, and while we got this, let's sign that. Do I need this? Yeah, okay. Let's come back over here. Let's get out of object mode. Goes back in the camera. Shift Z to have a look. All right, let's close this up. You know, I didn't do a really good job, but yeah, I got my other layer. There we go. do the stuff on the top. Okay, but just checking out those holes. I don't know how I would have done that all in sub Ds. Just doing it all in black for the moment. What if I did a quick render there? Set it at 100. Set the sampling at, say, 250. That's not very much, but just to save, let's just hit F12, and we'll just have a look at this. I guess I put a plane. I didn't even put a material on it, but you know, just to show how you could do it using a mixture of those techniques. I know it's not great to use those ngons, but you know, hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it'll be seamless. You won't even notice it, and it's a lot easier to deal with, Boolean wise. And you know, and this certainly isn't a real iPhone, not using any reference at all, which is terrible. But I'm just having fun making a cell phone of some sort. You could, you know, use this technique to some extent, and it looks relatively clean. But really, it uses a mixture of techniques that you know, I've seen, you know, on YouTube basically, with some things that I just figured myself. Now I can see that I forgot to put my screen down or whatever, but you know, aside from that, and you know, putting like, you know, glares and glass and stuff like that, I just want to have a look at those holes up at the top, because I'm happy with the buttons on the side, and I'm happy with that home button. I'm not saying it looks like an iPhone home button, but I mean, I'm happy with how it looks. Just want to see the holes, you know, looking pretty good, you know, at least from my perspective anyhow, at this level of Blender, you know, use. I was going to say proficiency, or lack thereof. I want to see what that little camera-like thing looks like at this point too. Yeah, I don't see any obvious problems other than the screen being up and not having, you know, good materials or good lighting or composition, just in terms of the modeling, and then viewing it in a render. It looks relatively sharp to me. The corners look a little odd, somehow a little boxy to my eye, but otherwise not that bad. All right, so I just wanted to share my technique, and good luck.